The beaches of Normandy stand as a testament to courage and sacrifice, but hidden beneath the sands is a chilling story rarely told. After the chaos of D-Day, thousands of soldiers, heroes who paid the ultimate price, lay scattered across the battlefield. The aftermath was grim, with the overwhelming task of recovering, identifying, and honoring the fallen left to those who stayed behind. What happened to their bodies? Why is this part of history so seldom discussed? In this video, we delve into the untold, haunting truth of D-Day's aftermath, shedding light on the silent legacy of those who never came home. D-Day, the Normandy invasion, a pivotal moment in history. The Normandy landings, known as D-Day, marked a turning point in World War II. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched the largest amphibious invasion in history. This monumental operation, codenamed Operation Neptune, was a critical part of the broader campaign known as Operation Overlord. It not only marked the beginning of the Allied push to liberate France, but also laid the groundwork for the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. Behind the heroism and success of the invasion lies a complex tale of preparation, sacrifice, and resilience that forever altered the course of history. The birth of an ambitious plan. The idea for an invasion of Nazi-occupied France began taking shape as early as 1943. Allied leaders understood that a second front in Western Europe was crucial to relieve pressure on Soviet forces in the east and to accelerate the defeat of Hitler's regime. The sheer scope of such an operation required meticulous planning. Allied leaders, including US President Franklin D. Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin, collaborated to create a strategy that would maximize their chances of success. Operation Bodyguard, a masterpiece of deception. A critical element of D-Day's success was the execution of Operation Bodyguard, an elaborate deception strategy designed to mislead the German High Command. This operation involved a series of coordinated efforts to confuse the enemy about the invasion's timing and location. Using fake radio transmissions, double agents, and inflatable tanks, the Allies created the illusion of an impending attack on other locations, such as Pas-de-Calais, southern France, and even Norway. This strategy, overseen by the London Controlling Section, successfully convinced German forces to spread their defences thinly, leaving Normandy vulnerable to attack. The Tehran Conference and approval. At the Tehran Conference in November 1943, Allied leaders discussed the specifics of the invasion. The plan, referred to as Plan Jail, was finalized in December. Despite skepticism due to previous failed deception efforts, Operation Bodyguard's success was pivotal in ensuring German forces remained uncertain about where the attack would occur. The build-up in southern England. In the months leading up to D-Day, southern England became a massive staging area. Allied forces gathered troops, vehicles, and supplies on an unprecedented scale. To maintain secrecy, the Allies imposed strict restrictions on movement and communication. Civilians were evacuated from certain areas, and soldiers were confined to camps to prevent any leaks about the invasion. Leadership on both sides. On the Allied side, Major General Dwight D. Eisenhower was appointed Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. Eisenhower's leadership, calm demeanor, and ability to inspire confidence were instrumental in uniting a diverse coalition of forces. Meanwhile, Adolf Hitler appointed Field Marshal Erwin Rommel to oversee the defense of Nazi-occupied France. Rommel, known as the Desert Fox, anticipated an invasion but was misled about its location due to Operation Bodyguard's success. The Dawn of Destiny, June 6, 1944. As dawn broke on June 6, 1944, the scale of the operation was staggering. Over 5,000 ships and landing craft carried approximately 156,000 Allied soldiers across the English Channel toward the beaches of Normandy. The multinational force included troops from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and several other nations. Their mission was clear: establish a foothold in France and begin the liberation of Western Europe. The role of paratroopers. Hours before the beach landings, paratroopers from the American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, along with British and Canadian paratroopers, were dropped behind enemy lines. Their objectives included securing key bridges, roads, and positions to prevent German reinforcements from reaching the beaches. However, strong winds and navigational errors scattered the paratroopers across the French countryside. Despite the chaos, they adapted quickly, using guerrilla tactics to disrupt German communications and sow confusion. The assault on the beaches, a comprehensive breakdown of D-Day's landing zones. On June 6, 1944, the Allied forces launched Operation Overlord, one of the most significant military invasions in history. Known as D-Day, the operation involved the landing of over 156,000 American, British, Canadian, and Free French troops on the beaches of Normandy, France. The success of the invasion hinged not only on the bravery of the soldiers, but also on the careful planning and coordination required to overcome the formidable German defenses. The assault was divided into 5 primary landing zones, each with its own challenges and tactical goals. These zones were codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword, and the soldiers who landed at each faced different levels of resistance, with some encountering unexpected obstacles and others making swift progress. Utah Beach, a relatively smooth landing. The American 4th Infantry Division was tasked with landing at Utah Beach, one of the 2 American landing zones on the Normandy coast. Compared to the other beaches, Utah presented relatively light resistance, which was a stroke of fortune for the invasion. The soldiers of the 4th Infantry Division were able to establish a foothold with remarkable efficiency, despite the fact that the beach was heavily mined and riddled with obstacles. The success at Utah Beach can be largely attributed to the actions of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, which had been dropped behind enemy lines during the early hours of the morning. The airborne units, despite being scattered due to poor visibility and intense anti-aircraft fire, played a crucial role in the success of the landings. They managed to neutralize key German positions and destroy or capture enemy artillery, which could have been used to shell the incoming landing forces. In a stroke of fortune, the airborne troops had inadvertently cleared several important German defenses, which allowed the 4th Infantry Division to advance inland much faster than anticipated. As the assault began, the initial resistance was light. The beach was well defended with barbed wire, machine gun nests, and a few artillery positions. But these were quickly neutralized, thanks to the paratroopers' actions. By the end of the day, the 4th Infantry Division had secured its objectives, including the town of Perrier, and had linked up with the airborne forces. Casualties at Utah Beach were far lower than those at other landing zones, with fewer than 200 men killed, a stark contrast to the bloodshed seen at Omaha. The success at Utah was pivotal in the overall strategy of Operation Overlord. By securing this beach quickly, the Americans were able to establish a vital port and create a staging ground for further inland advances. The relatively smooth landing at Utah also allowed more forces to be diverted to other more contested beaches, such as Omaha and Juno. Omaha Beach, the bloodiest battleground. In stark contrast to Utah Beach, Omaha Beach became the scene of some of the fiercest fighting of D-Day. The American 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions, tasked with landing at Omaha, were met with intense resistance from entrenched German forces. The beach was heavily fortified, with concrete bunkers housing machine gun nests, anti-tank weapons, and artillery. These defenses were augmented by barbed wire, landmines, and the natural terrain, which provided perfect cover for the German defenders. The soldiers who landed at Omaha Beach were immediately under fire as they disembarked from their landing craft. Many soldiers were cut down in the water before even setting foot on the sand. The beach was exposed to direct fire from the cliffs above, which were held by German soldiers well prepared for the incoming assault. The landing craft, filled with brave young men, were met with a storm of bullets, mortar shells, and artillery, creating a deadly gauntlet for the soldiers to navigate. Despite the overwhelming firepower, small groups of survivors managed to advance and neutralize the German defenses. A few courageous units were able to break through the barbed wire and bunkers, creating small pockets of resistance inland. These groups were instrumental in pushing forward and clearing the way for more troops to land. However, for much of the day, Omaha Beach remained a kill zone, where soldiers had to fight for every inch of ground. The casualties at Omaha Beach were staggering. The 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions suffered over 2,000 casualties, with many soldiers losing their lives in the first wave of landings. The horrific conditions, coupled with the relentless German fire, made the beach one of the bloodiest battlegrounds of D-Day. In addition to the human cost, the operation's logistical challenges were compounded by the difficulty in getting supplies and reinforcements ashore. Nevertheless, by the end of the day, the beachhead was secured, and the survivors began to push inland. Omaha Beach became a symbol of the resilience and determination of the American soldiers. Despite the horrific losses and the intense resistance, the soldiers never gave up. Their courage and grit under fire were integral to the success of D-Day and ultimately the liberation of France. Gold Beach, British determination. Gold Beach, located in the British landing sector, was the site of the British 50th Infantry Division's assault. The British forces faced a more moderate level of resistance than those at Omaha, but they still encountered well-placed German defences, including machine gun nests, artillery, and barbed wire. The main objective at Gold Beach was to advance toward the town of Bayeux, which was a key logistical hub that would allow the Allies to push further inland. The British forces had an advantage over their American counterparts in that they had been able to deploy specialised tanks known as Hobart's Funnies. These vehicles were modified with unique equipment designed to help overcome obstacles such as mines, barbed wire, and anti-tank obstacles. One of the most famous of these tanks was the flail tank, equipped with rotating drums covered in chains that could clear mines by detonating them as the tank advanced. These specialized vehicles played a crucial role in breaching the German defenses and allowing the infantry to advance. By the end of the day, the British forces had secured Gold Beach and made significant progress toward Bayeux. They linked up with the Canadian forces landing at Juno Beach, creating a vital connection between the two forces. While casualties were still high, they were significantly lower than those sustained by the Americans at Omaha Beach. The British forces' ability to neutralize the German defenses with the help of specialized equipment was a significant achievement, and it marked a turning point in the invasion's progress. Juno Beach, Canadian Valor. Juno Beach, the landing zone for Canadian forces, was one of the most fiercely contested areas of the invasion. The Canadian 3rd Infantry Division, supported by the 2nd Armoured Brigade, landed under intense fire from well-constructed German positions. In addition to machine gun nests, the Canadians faced underwater obstacles, minefields, and artillery fire from high ground overlooking the beach. The Canadians suffered heavy casualties in the early waves, with many soldiers falling to the German defenders before they could even reach the shore. However, despite the overwhelming odds, the Canadians pressed on with determination. Many soldiers, fighting through the intense bombardment and brutal conditions, managed to secure key positions on the beach and push inland. One of the most significant objectives for the Canadians was the capture of the town of Carpiquet, which was an important strategic position. By the end of the day, the Canadians had succeeded in securing Juno Beach and had made substantial progress toward their inland objectives. They also linked up with the British forces advancing from Gold Beach, creating a crucial corridor for further advances. The success of the Canadians at Juno Beach was hard-won, and their valor in the face of intense opposition was a testament to their professionalism and determination. Despite the heavy losses, the Canadians had secured their objectives and played a vital role in the overall success of the invasion. Sword Beach, British innovation. The final beach to be assaulted on D-Day was Sword Beach, the British landing zone. The British 3rd Infantry Division was tasked with taking the beach, and while they faced well-prepared German defences, they were aided by the use of specialised vehicles, such as the Hobart's Funnies used at Gold Beach. These specialised vehicles, which included tanks equipped with flamethrowers and bridge-laying tanks, allowed the British forces to breach the defences and advance toward their objectives. Sword Beach was strategically important due to its proximity to the city of Caen, which was a key target for the Allied forces. The British forces on Sword Beach made rapid progress and were able to advance toward their goal of capturing the city. However, progress was hindered by fierce German resistance, and by the end of the day, the British forces had secured the beach and established a foothold in Normandy. The use of specialised vehicles, such as those developed by Major General Percy Hobart, was instrumental in overcoming the German defences. These vehicles allowed the British forces to clear mines, destroy bunkers, and neutralize obstacles, making the assault on Sword Beach one of the most successful of the day. By midday, the beach was secured, and the British forces began advancing toward Caen, marking the beginning of the next phase of the battle for Normandy. Air and naval support. Allied air superiority played a crucial role in the invasion's success. Bombers and fighter planes targeted German defenses, supply lines, and reinforcements, providing vital support to the troops on the ground. The roar of aircraft overhead was a constant reminder of the Allies' dominance in the skies. The naval bombardment. The invasion began with a massive naval bombardment aimed at softening German defenses along the coast. Battleships, cruisers, and destroyers unleashed a relentless barrage of shells, creating explosions that rippled along the coastline. While the bombardment caused significant damage, many German positions remained intact, forcing the infantry to face intense resistance. Unimaginable sacrifices. D-Day came at an incredible cost. By the end of June 6th, thousands of Allied soldiers were killed or wounded. Beaches like Omaha were littered with the bodies of fallen heroes, a stark reminder of the price paid for freedom. For every inch of ground gained, lives were lost, but the determination of these soldiers ensured that their sacrifice was not in vain. A foothold in Europe. Despite the chaos and devastation, the Allies secured a foothold along the Normandy coast. This achievement marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, as the Allies began their relentless march toward victory. A turning point in history. D-Day is often remembered as the turning point in World War II. The invasion demonstrated the power of Allied cooperation and the unwavering resolve of soldiers who risked everything for a greater cause. It also highlighted the importance of planning, innovation, and adaptability in the face of adversity. Honoring the fallen today, the beaches of Normandy are a solemn reminder of the sacrifices made on June 6, 1944. Cemeteries and memorials across the region pay tribute to the soldiers who gave their lives, ensuring that their bravery and sacrifice will never be forgotten. The landing. Courage under fire. At dawn on June 6, 1944, a massive armada of over 5,000 ships carried more than 156,000 Allied troops across the English Channel to the beaches of Normandy, France. Divided into 5 sectors, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword, the landings were a coordinated assault by American, British, and Canadian forces. The soldiers, many of whom were barely out of their teens, faced a nightmarish scene as they approached the shore. The beaches erupted in chaos as German artillery and machine guns unleashed a relentless barrage. At Omaha Beach, the bloodiest of the landings, soldiers were met with a wall of fire. Many were killed before they could even disembark from their landing crafts. Those who made it to shore found themselves pinned down by enemy fire, navigating a landscape littered with tank traps, barbed wire, and landmines. Despite these overwhelming odds, the soldiers pressed on, driven by a shared sense of duty and an unyielding resolve. The human cost, sacrifice, and survival. By the end of the day, the Allies had secured the beachheads, but at a staggering cost. The casualty figures from D-Day remain a sobering testament to the human price of war. Approximately 4,414 Allied soldiers lost their lives, with American forces suffering around 2,000 fatalities, British troops 2,000, and Canadian forces 340. German casualties were also significant, estimated between 4,000 and 9,000. The chaotic nature of the battle made it nearly impossible to account for every fallen soldier, leaving many families with little information about their loved ones' fates. The brutality of the landings left a haunting legacy. Photographs taken in the aftermath, such as the image of Second Lieutenant Walter Sidlowski kneeling beside a draped body on Omaha Beach, offer a glimpse into the profound loss and grief that permeated the battlefield. The beaches, once pristine, were transformed into somber graveyards, marked by the sacrifices of those who fought and died there. Honoring the fallen. The first Allied cemetery. 2 days after the landings, on June 8, 1944, the first Allied cemetery in Europe was established near the Normandy beaches. This sacred ground served as a testament to the courage and sacrifice of the soldiers who had given their lives for the cause of freedom. Today, the Normandy American Cemetery stands as a powerful reminder of the cost of war. with its rows of white crosses stretching into the horizon. In Bedford, Virginia, the National D-Day Memorial honors the 4,414 Allied troops who perished on D-Day. Bedford was chosen as the memorial's site due to its tragic distinction as the American town that suffered the highest per capita loss of soldiers on D-Day. 19 young men from Bedford lost their lives during the invasion, leaving a profound impact on the tight-knit community. Their names, along with those of their fellow soldiers, are immortalized on bronze plaques, ensuring their sacrifices are never forgotten. The challenge of counting the fallen. Determining the exact number of casualties from D-Day has proven to be an arduous task. The sheer scale of the operation, combined with the chaos of battle, made record-keeping nearly impossible. Soldiers were often separated from their units, and many bodies went unaccounted for in the immediate aftermath. Initial estimates of Allied losses ranged widely, from 5,000 to 12,000, reflecting the difficulty of tracking fatalities during such a large-scale and chaotic operation. Librarian and genealogist Carol Tuckwiller dedicated years to uncovering the most accurate tally of Allied casualties. Working with the National D-Day Memorial Foundation in Bedford, she meticulously pieced together information from after-action reports, military records, and grave sites. Her research revealed that 4,414 Allied soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen lost their lives on D-Day, with each name carefully verified against historical records. The legacy of sacrifice. The Normandy invasion marked a turning point in World War II, paving the way for the eventual liberation of France and the defeat of Nazi Germany. However, the cost of victory was immense. For the soldiers who survived the landings, the memories of that day would remain etched in their minds forever. Many carried physical and emotional scars, a reminder of the horrors they had endured. For the families of the fallen, the loss was immeasurable. The establishment of cemeteries and memorials provided a place to mourn and honor their loved ones, but the pain of their absence lingered. The stories of courage and sacrifice from D-Day continue to resonate, serving as a reminder of the price of freedom. The grim aftermath. Tending to the dead. In the immediate aftermath of the landings, the priority was securing the beachheads, leaving little time to tend to the dead. The bodies of fallen soldiers often lay untouched, silent witnesses to the fierce battles that had unfolded. It was not until the fighting subsided that efforts were made to recover and bury the dead, a task that underscored the human cost of the invasion. The German defenders, too, suffered heavy losses, with many buried at the Le Camp German military cemetery in Normandy. This site, like the Allied cemeteries, stands as a somber reminder of the war's devastating impact on all sides. D-Day's place in history. The events of June 6, 1944, stand as a testament to the bravery and resilience of the men who fought there. The success of D-Day was not just a military victory, but a triumph of the human spirit. It demonstrated the power of unity and determination in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. The sacrifices made on those beaches changed the course of history, leading to the liberation of Europe and the eventual collapse of Nazi Germany. As the years pass, the legacy of D-Day endures. The stories of courage, sacrifice, and perseverance continue to inspire generations, reminding us of the profound cost of war and the enduring value of freedom. The beaches of Normandy, now peaceful and serene, serve as a lasting tribute to those who gave their lives in the fight for a better world. Capturing the moment, artists and burial efforts. 3 days after the invasion, artist Manuel Bromberg arrived in Normandy. Tasked with documenting the aftermath, Bromberg used his sketches to immortalize the grim work of burying the dead. His poignant illustrations show soldiers working tirelessly to inter their comrades directly on the beaches. The task of burial was often carried out under the watchful eyes of German prisoners of war, who were compelled to assist in these solemn duties. The burials were hurried, but never devoid of respect. Soldiers worked against the clock to ensure the tides did not reclaim the bodies. Despite the chaos, the effort to give fallen comrades a proper resting place was never overlooked. It was a deeply human act in the midst of a dehumanizing war, underscoring the soldiers' reverence for their brothers in arms. The English Channel, a lifeline and a graveyard. While the beaches bore the brunt of the invasion's horrors, the English Channel became a scene of relentless activity. Ships served dual roles, launching the invasion and ferrying back the wounded and the dead. Naval Intercept Officer Robert E. Davenport, stationed aboard the USS Henrico, had a harrowing view of the events. From the ship's deck, he witnessed waves of landing craft filled with young soldiers heading toward Omaha Beach, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and fear. When these crafts returned, the grim reality of war was evident. Many boats carried soldiers who had never reached the shore, their lives cut short by gunfire or drowned in the deceptively deep waters caused by hidden sandbars. Temporary graves, honoring the fallen amid chaos. As the battle moved inland, the beaches were transformed into makeshift cemeteries. For the advancing Allied forces, leaving fallen comrades behind was unthinkable. Temporary burial sites began to appear, reflecting the soldiers' commitment to respect and duty. One such burial site was organized by Sergeant Elbert E. Lee. With limited resources, Lee and his team improvised, using sections of wooden crates for grave markers. Parachutes left behind by airborne troops were repurposed to cover the bodies, lending a solemn dignity to these hurried burials. Private Thomas J. Dowling, who was part of these efforts, described the grueling conditions under which they worked. The warm June weather accelerated the decomposition of bodies, intensifying the urgency of the task. Dowling and his team transported the dead from battlefields to temporary cemeteries using trailers. These grim convoys symbolized the immense human cost of the invasion. By June 10th, just 4 days after the invasion, 8 temporary cemeteries had been established. Within a month, these sites held the remains of over 30,000 soldiers, a staggering number that only grew as the war progressed. The Quartermaster Graves Registration Service, preserving identity and honor. Behind the scenes, the Quartermaster Graves Registration Service played a crucial role in ensuring that each fallen soldier was properly identified and laid to rest. Their work was both a logistical and emotional challenge. Identifying the deceased often required combing through personal belongings, letters, photographs, and even scraps of clothing. Biometric data, such as fingerprints and dental records, were meticulously compared to confirm identities. In some cases, soldiers' dog tags provided a vital clue. These metal identification tags, designed to endure harsh conditions, carried crucial information such as names, serial numbers, and blood types. The dual tag design allowed one half to remain with the body, while the other was sent for official records, ensuring that no soldier was left unnamed. However, the task was fraught with danger. As German forces retreated, they often rigged explosives near bodies, turning recovery efforts into deadly missions. Despite these risks, the graves registration teams pressed on, driven by the knowledge that their work brought comfort and closure to grieving families. The long road home, repatriating the fallen. The process of bringing the fallen home was an enormous undertaking. The US military, drawing on lessons from World War I, faced an even greater challenge in World War II due to the scale of the conflict. No remains were repatriated until the war ended in 1945, marking the beginning of a complex operation that spanned continents. In 1946, Congress passed the Return of the Dead program, allocating nearly $1 billion, equivalent to over $1.4 billion today, to bring home the remains of fallen soldiers. The program faced numerous logistical hurdles, including strikes in key industries that delayed the production of caskets. It wasn't until late 1947 that the First World War II deceased were returned to American soil. The repatriation effort continued until 1951, ultimately bringing over 171,000 bodies back to their families. For those who had waited years to bury their loved ones, this monumental operation provided a measure of closure and the opportunity to honor their heroes. Normandy today, a landscape of remembrance. Today, the sacrifices made on D-Day are etched into the landscape of Normandy. The region is home to 27 military cemeteries, each a solemn testament to the cost of liberation. Among them, the Normandy American Cemetery in Colleville-sur-Mer stands out. This hallowed ground, depicted in Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, contains the graves of 9,387 American soldiers. The cemetery's Garden of the Missing Honours, 1,557 service members whose remains were never recovered. Its meticulously maintained grounds and poignant memorials serve as a place of reflection, ensuring that the sacrifices of D-Day are never forgotten. Ensuring the legacy lives. The story of D-Day is not merely one of strategy and victory, but also of immense sacrifice and resilience. From the beaches transformed into battlefields to the tireless efforts to honour the fallen, the legacy of those who fought on June 6, 1944, continues to inspire. How do we ensure that their sacrifices remain meaningful to future generations? By preserving their stories, tending their graves, and teaching the values of courage and perseverance, we honour their legacy. The memories of their actions, woven into the fabric of history, remind us of the cost of freedom and the enduring spirit of those who fought to secure it.